Would you all please be seated? Good morning, class, and welcome to Please Help Me. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Now, unfortunately, your professor, Richard Levin, could not be here today. So I, your TA, Defne Tuncer, will be covering for this class. Now let's get started. We'll be talking about some life-changing topics, so listen up to all of you who thought that this would be a class where you could sleep. 2 years ago today, I was in grade 10, and I came to hear a chapel speech from a great friend. I was sitting right over there with the only other Turkish person in the Appleby community and felt kind of embarrassed that I had been invited, along with the graduating class of 2011 and 2012, to hear this special speech. I was greatly inspired and touched, and I can say that it was very motivational. And so, my thoughts on my chapel speech began. I remember my first time in this chapel. It was around 5.5 years ago, and I was sitting with Matt Greenwood and Dr. Zeman, who was my home form teacher, at those benches. Then, the head prefect of the time, who was Selina Sayani, came up and stood right here to deliver the speech that commenced the school year. And thinking about how this was almost 6 years ago makes me feel kind of old. She was beautiful and amazing, and I fell in love with the way that she delivered and created such a great speech. Yes, I was in awe. And I can tell you right now that at that moment I thought, wow, I want to be just like her when I'm in grade 12. I stand before you today, proud of my journey and the stumbles I got up from up until this point. What do we call this journey? There should be words for it, right? The words that I'm looking for are keykin, experience, and iyiliği, perseverance. And coincidentally, all of us have them. Now let's start with experience. What is experience? One could argue that memories and experiences are the same thing. They are not. Memories are events that you can recall or reminisce about, but experiences are events where you learned a lesson. You wouldn't necessarily learn a lesson from a memory. And what makes experiences so important? Well, everything comes with experience. And even though I'm standing before you today, I have relatively few. Even though I'd like to think that I've seen it all and that I'm ready for the real world, I'm not. And you're not. We never are. I'm not trying to scare you or anything. I just think that it would be wise if we listen to people who do have more experience than us, like our parents and teachers. But that's just an example. I'm not telling you to listen or to not listen to anyone. It's up to you and how clever you want to be when you step out that door into reality. Use your experiences and use those around you. Why would you want to make the same mistake that someone else that you know did, when you can learn from those mistakes so that you do not commit the same ones? You'll advance faster, learn more by making mistakes that haven't already been done. And as J.K. Rowling said, it is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well have not lived at all, in which case you fail by default. Failure taught me things about myself that I could have learned no other way. The knowledge that you have emerged wiser and stronger from setbacks means that you are, ever after, secure in your ability to survive, unquote. And this would also help you in helping another person by sharing your experiences with them, which make us interconnected in some ways, which is what makes experiences so worthwhile. Everyone is affected, so observe other people's experiences to make sure that yours are made well. Someone whose experience have helped me advance is David Hakim, whom some of you know. Now, David really helped me with debating, which is a really big part of my life today. When David was about to graduate, he sent me, along with some other people, an email with tips on debating and how he has high hopes for the club and how he encouraged us to continue and how we could improve. He shared with us his experiences of debating, and this meant a lot to me. I remember feeling unsure if I should continue this or not in grade 10, but this email encouraged me to persevere. I still use these tips and have improved a lot over the last 2 years, and so his own experiences have affected my own. Another debater who has influenced me is Suleiman Hakimi, even though he graduated 1 year before I started Appleby. When I was in grade 9, he came as the keynote speaker to the Appleby College Model United Nations Conference, which is where I met him. At this time, he was in the university in the UK, and he told us about his experience. He told us about how he went to intern at an embassy, and how he was the only one there who knew any Spanish. So the ambassador asked him to translate for him over the phone to the president of Peru. Suleiman also said that he and the ambassador became friends, and how he worked with them for the rest of his internship. He told us that he met so many important people involved in foreign affairs, and how he literally couldn't tell us about his top secret confidential talks. And on top of that, he was a great speaker. It was so cool. His experiences definitely impacted me in my perseverance to learn languages, and fortified my resolution to become an ambassador one day. A lot of my friends have also shaped my experiences and what is considered as normal to do in public. Word of advice: don't go around asking people what's in your wildest dreams. That's not normal. And hey, I didn't know that until grade 7. And in case you were wondering, mine is to drive a motorcycle really, really fast, with a helmet, of course. Other great experiences I gained from my friends were through traveling with them to France. I learned that charades is a great laugh-inducing game, especially if you play it with Mia, Lauren, or David Murdoch. I also learned that my friends don't like French cookies that taste like soap. And finally, I've learned from Karina and Morgan that shouting randomly when no one is around to hear is a great way to relax and bond. But now that we've gotten the good experiences out of the way, let's analyze the bad ones. Why avoid these when they have so much to offer? Experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted, as Randy Posh, the professor who gave the last lecture, said. Probably the worst experience I've ever had was last year. I piled up way too many things to do, both academically and co-curricular-wise, and for most of the time, I felt sad and unhealthy, and quite frankly, it was terrible. I love participating in events and being involved, but unfortunately, I put no limit on how involved I should be. Through this terrible experience, I found that everyone has a limit, and mine might be lower than yours. It's just like comparing glasses of water. Perhaps I'm a smaller glass than you, so naturally, my overflowing point is smaller. Whatever the case, I realized that I needed to make important decisions to feel healthy, and that I couldn't do everything, unfortunately. However, looking back at this experience, I'm really glad I had it, because I feel so much more organized, energized, and happy this year. And if I had not had this terrible experience in grade 11, perhaps I would be making it right now, which would have been so much worse. So grade 11s, I'm not trying to scare you, but trying to help you by imparting my experiences of last year to you, so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. And so, what can we conclude about experiences? They connect us, and we can learn from them, even if they're good or bad. Experiences teach us things from others and about others, but we can also learn from and about ourselves. As Elle Woods once said, reflecting back upon the wisdom she gained from her own experiences, it is with passion, courage of conviction, and strong self that we take our next steps into the world. You must always have faith in people, but most importantly, you must always have faith in yourself. It is through experience that we can acquire these characteristics of ourselves and continue moving forward with what we have learned. But hold on now. I haven't talked much about perseverance. So let's think here. What do experiences and perseverance have in common? They're both elements you need for success. They're both complementary goods, like peanut butter and jelly or yellow and purple. So what I mean to say is, keep working hard and don't give up. If you give up, you lose the chance of creating new experiences to help you in your future. You need to strive for what you want. If you don't persevere, it's hard to achieve anything. Don't assume that just because you get and understand everything now, that will be the case in the future. Anything can happen, and you need to be ready for that. You need to be aware of the lessons that you've learned and the people that you've met in your experiences. Us, as Appleby students, are very lucky and lead very privileged lives, so use what you have around you, because you won't always have these opportunities lying around. And, as Mr. Van Nostrand said in his speech on Friday, most of the graduates have regrets that they didn't make use of what was available to them while they were still here. Don't be like that. Don't have regrets. Learn from their mistakes and make great experiences. I'm sorry to tell you this harsh reality, but life is tough, and if you don't work, it's hard to get anywhere. So make and use experiences to aid you. In Turkish, there is a saying, "Ne oldum değil, ne olacağım demeli," which translates to, the important thing is not where you are right now, but of where you will be in the future. And luckily, we have experiences to make sure that our futures are bright. L'importance n'est pas la destination, mais le voyage, porque el destino no será siempre bien, pero la experiencia será inestimable. The important thing is not the destination, but the journey, because the destination might not always be the best, but the experience you gain from reaching that destination is priceless. Someone once said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Undoubtedly, this someone, Forrest Gump, had quite a bit of experience in his day. When I first heard this, I didn't really know what it meant. And then came Valentine's Day. I was in the car listening to the radio when all of a sudden a lady came on and started talking about chocolate boxes. Apparently, recent studies from Michigan University show that the last chocolate in the box psychologically tastes better. The human body is excited and attracted by the completion of an experience, and therefore cherishes the last bite with happiness. I found it kind of funny how the exact same thing applies to life and to our time that is coming to an end here at Appleby. Because now, dear classmates, we have almost finished these chocolates, and it's getting closer to close the lid of this box. Every one of those chocolates enhanced our experiences here, and we will remember the soft taste that they leave behind wherever we may go in the future. Now will you all rise and sing hymn 473. Class Svobodien, class dismissed. I need a book.